with fulfillment and purpose and a reason to get out of bed in the morning and moderately taking good care of yourself, you can live healthier so much longer than our parents and our grandparents and others did.
There is a saying, you are only as old as you think you are.
Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures.
You are worried about aging and what to do with the years ahead. Then watch this video. I'm Lilian Zeltzer, and for the last 3.5 decades, I researched, practiced, and hunted for natural stimulants for better health, longevity, and pleasure. In the process, I discovered many time-tested and science-supported natural therapies and met numerous experts who, together with me, share their knowledge in this show with those who want it. Because as Hippocrates said in the 4th century BC, if you're not your own doctor, you are a fool. Our guest expert today is Paul Twain, a third-generation eloquent storyteller and film producer who created content for dozens of major global companies and has been honored with numerous prestigious awards, including the New York and Chicago Film Festivals, Summit, Aurora, to name a few, an Emmy Award for Best Documentary. His most important achievement is the Moving Forward Guide for people in their elderhood, which is based on his personal experience, knowledge, and wisdom. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
I wonder, well, no one wants to grow old. Many of us reject being old only because we associate being old with dull, useless existence, boring, sexless life, loneliness, drunkenness, sicknesses. In your way forward guide, you provide tips that can help older individuals to create new, more enjoyable realities during their autumn years. The question is, what motivated you to actually create it? And how did you discover all that?
You know, a number of years ago, I was like, okay, what's next for me? As many people, especially get in your 50s, you're like, now what? And fortunately, somehow, it became a life quest to discover, all right, what's my new way forward? I didn't call it that back then, but I'm like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so what I did is I really put in the time and effort to research it and learn and say, what were other people doing? What was the deal? What was the deal with retirement, traditional retirement? And it completely blew my mind. I mean, it was the opposite of the stereotype, or it could be the opposite. In the one hand, I found a lot of people, I think, become old only because they think they're supposed to. But I was learning and seeing so many other people who were redesigning their lives, were reimagining their lives, were really looking at this time as their turn to really do what they wanted to do in terms of being relevant, in terms of being fulfilled in purpose and passion and even health. And I also discovered that many institutions and people are viewing olderhood as an entirely brand new phase of life. Stanford University's Longevity Center actually has defined a new phase of life because with fulfillment and purpose and a reason to get out of bed in the morning and moderately taking good care of yourself, you can live healthier so much longer than our parents and our grandparents and others did. And I'm like, well, that's for me. and that there's maybe no better time in life for me to really figure out what I want to do with my life. And that's what I pursued and did. And of course, a big part of that is sharing it with other people.
It's wonderful. That's very valuable. Well, scientists say that aging is a natural, involuntary biological process with variable speed of aging and it is different for every individual. And no one lives, of course, forever. However, if you do certain things, and mind, I did study it and I did go to Sicily and Sardinia to study longevity of their centenarians. If you do certain things, you might slow down the aging process. I know you're not a scientist and not a biochemist, but one of these things is the power of sexuality, which affects our physical, emotional, and mental health. Below this video, I took liberty to give a gift to our audience. It's a little suggestion about the magic power of pheromones, which can turn anyone at any age into an attractive magnet. What is your point of view on the aged people's sexuality?
Well, you're right. I'm not an expert in that world, but I can say that I think that being in a good relationship, we're still, fueling a libido, I guess you would call it, maybe. I mean, you're the expert, is one thing. But here again, I think it comes down, I think at all, in terms of sexuality, in terms of enjoyment, in terms of good health, in terms of vitality, all comes down to two things. One, it's an attitude. And number two, it's taking moderately good care of yourself. It's exercising and robustly. It doesn't have to be, extreme, but I mean, if you're moving your butt and you're lifting, doing some strength training, some brisk walking and obviously maybe taking it farther than that. If you're eating, good food, you're eating a lot of what you're supposed to eat and little or none of the other thing. But also a big thing is, I think for me, still being healthy in those regards that you're talking about is that, I mean, for one thing, I in no way, shape, this is deep down aside, I in no way, shape, or form perceive myself as being anywhere close to my chronological age. I mean, maybe unless I look in the mirror. Seriously. I mean, I cannot believe that I am the age that I am because I don't feel that way. I don't act that way. I don't perceive myself that way. I'm not perceived that way by a lot of people. I've been on creative calls back before I quit my content creation business. And there would be calls with people that didn't know me. And it was just, audio only. And then we would meet and they would be shocked thinking I was like their age in their 30s, only hearing me and hearing, my energy and my excitement and such. So I think the attitude, it just comes down to attitude, not accepting what society and marketing and my great-grandparents went through or anything else, that I am going to live fulfilled and healthy and active and kind of aggressive with life as long as I can.
Well, we live with our beliefs. Our beliefs, they rule our lives. And if we believe that our chronological age should be synchronized with our biological age, and by certain age, we should look like our grandparents did, well, we might not see the world the way it is now, when a lot of people in their 60s and 70s and 80s still look beautiful and are still very active, create, work, and enjoy life to the fullest. But let's talk about the new way forward guide. Why do we need that guide in our age of communication and high technology? And how does it work in reality?
To me, what I discovered and what I was fortunate enough to pursue was, first of all, came through awareness of, here again, the health things that we were talking about, and the fact that there are a lot of younger medical researchers and scientists who are not focused on treatment, but are focused on prevention. And actually, you said slow down aging. In some cases, there's actually reversals taking place in terms of understanding the human body and the way that we evolve and how to feed it and how to treat it and things of that sort. But new way forward, and I'm still, I recently launched and everything, so the methodology is still in development and things of that sort. But I think that when there is the awareness that there is this opportunity in life, and I think if someone is willing to step back and examine themselves, for instance, when I was ready to make a transition, the first thing I did is, what do I like? What do I not like? What am I good at? What am I not good at? Kind of list, which is fine and good. But I really started thinking, like I did if you're familiar with the Wheel of Life, which takes every section of life, relationships, income, health, fulfillment, community, things of that sort. How did I get those to a 10? What kinds of things would help me facilitate? I came up with a basic morning intention. How did I want to feel every morning when I woke up? Well, number one, I wanted to wake up. Pretty basic. Number two, I wanted to be in great health, not on any medications. Okay, so I'm going to have to work on my health. And I wanted to not have to worry about money. And that became my filter. But it took me a while to actually even come up with what was so basic about it. And I had to do a lot of self-examination. I had to kind of think about where did old bad beliefs come from that weren't true anymore, and kind of optimize myself to go after it. But the cool thing is it's hard. But of course, it's harder to not live the life that you want. And you don't like yourself for not doing it. So it's a hard that was worth doing. And every step of the way, I got more and more excited, and my life started improving immediately. So the journey, which continues, makes it worthwhile.
Well, your work is a fundamental collection of different experiences, wisdom. There is a saying, you are only as old as you think you are. That attitude towards aging can significantly impact our emotional, physical, and mental states, any age, even for children. Are there any tips in your guide on how we can address these issues?
Well, first of all, it's a very valid warning, I think, for everyone, because so many of us, including it limiting our lives or living what's called the default life, where you're doing what you think you're supposed to do, even though it's not right for you. And so many of the people that I'm dealing with and talking about saying, yeah, I lived the default life. Now I'm ready to live a life that's true to me. Because we get bombarded starting at birth with what our parents' expectations are, and marketers and peers and politicians and spiritual leaders. This is the box you're supposed to fit in. These are the way that you're supposed to look. This is what's cool. This is what's not. And here again, what I realized is that I am in no way, shape, or form living the stereotype that everybody's been presenting as to what it should be at my age, any more than my two adult sons who are millennials say, well, if this is the stereotype of millennials, then I guess I'm not a millennial because I don't act like that. Or Gen Z person saying, I'm no snowflake. So we have to get past these prejudices, these assumptions and presumptions and stereotypes of what you're supposed to be like at a certain age, as part of a certain generation, as a woman, as a whatever. It's kind of like I often want to say, work toward making the new you the true you.
So if someone has a question, a problem that they cannot resolve on their own, how do they use your guide to actually put it in life, implement it? Is there video, or is there outlet portal that they can pop question to you? How does it work?
Well, I'm always open to questions, and I can be reached at paul@newwayfwd.com. I invite people to email me directly. The guide is kind of a starter, that what I have right now. Now, what I've been working on, in fact, moments before we did this, is a more extensive program, course, if you will, that will help people get through the steps of awareness and then some of the methods in order to do the self-examination, to kind of open up the doors and things of that sort, to reimagine and even redesign, a person's life and get past some of those other things. One of the tenets of what I'm doing is to not just be sharing, but with everybody that I engage with, I'm learning. I'm learning more and more and more from the people who are wanting it and or going through it or have achieved it.
Absolutely. There's an ancient saying, I learn when I teach. But I see.
Absolutely. That is a great, I haven't heard that. Can I use that? I like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was one of the ancient Greek philosophers who actually coined it. I see the Moving Forward guide as a Bible that can help people discover and live the life they want faster. Because by the time they'll discover what you already know, they'll lose time. But what is the biggest challenge faced by individuals who want to be the master of their life and turn the years ahead into the best years of their lives?
Well, in the first place, it is my solid belief, and it's really just common sense, that there is a new way forward for people that's there for each one of us, that's right for each one of us. Not the same one for you, not the same one for my next door neighbor, but there's something that's right for me. My new way forward isn't going to be playing middle linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, because that's not right for me. But I can find something that's right for each of us. And my goodness, especially as you get older, I mean, now again, it's the perfect time. We know more about ourselves and life and the worlds and things of that sort. And quite frankly, we hear the clock ticking. If we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? But I'll go back to awareness of what's going on. You talked about my website. I've had so many people say that, either through social media or whatever, they found out about what I was doing and went to the site, or they heard from somebody else. And the interesting thing is almost all of them said, well, first of all, they were in this scary position. I'm 55. I got laid off. I can't afford to not work. I'm up against ageism. I don't know what to do. Or all of a sudden, I'm at retirement age, and I don't think it's right for me. People were in kind of a crisis mode, and they were scared. And they said, I went to your site, and here's the interesting thing. They said, I just started randomly looking around, and I read this article, or I watched this interview, or whatever. And they said, all of a sudden, I went from this narrow, limited view of the possibilities in my life, and it blew my mind open. That is the coolest thing on earth, because when you realize, wait a second, this is totally different than a stereotype that is incredibly less than desirable of olderhood. And I've got more options and possibilities, and maybe something that might be the best thing I ever did in my life. Sign me up. And I'm not so much talking about sign me up to New Way Forward or anything. I'm like, sign me up to pursue finding what's right for me and taking advantage of this like life gift that's never existed in the history of humanity, for us to make our olderhood like some of the most fulfilling and vibrant and relevant and meaningful years of our entire existence, and not think, oh, when I'm 70, I'm going to be in a nursing home being fed through a tube. No. By the way, in the United States, only 2% of the people over the age of 80 are in a nursing home. So that's even a bad stereotype. So it's what human doesn't want unlimited potential for their lives, especially at a time when you wouldn't have expected it.
One more old saying, you can bring horse to water, but
you can't make them drink it.
Absolutely. So that's how I see your guide. It's there for people to actually use it. But if you don't go on website, if you don't reach out, and you suffer in silence, you will continue doing so and regret not being open about it earlier, when you finally go to that moving forward guide and see how easily you could have been happier, more enthusiastic about future and future life.
And if I may, you brought up a really good point. I personally use the power of regret to motivate me. I've actually imagined myself in a hospital bed knowing I was going to die and feeling that regret as a motivator, as a constructive motivator to say, I'm not dying with that regret. I'm going to be in my final days. Actually, I hope that I have a very robust day, great day, made a difference with people I love, and I just don't wake up. But if I'm in my final days, I'm going to be sitting there going, I do not have that regret. I've lived life the best I could and to the fullest.
Absolutely. And one more thing, you don't have to be really over 60 or over 50 to actually start using Paul's doctrine. The earlier you start, the better it will be. Prepare yourself. It's like an exercise for your brain, exercise for your implementation of good things into your life. It's not just your exercise diet or meditation. It's more to it. It's philosophy of life, which unfortunately comes only with age. So if you have access to it early in your life, it is a benefit. On this note, Paul, I would like to thank you for sharing your wisdom, experience, and useful tips with our audience. And I hope to see you back on our show for the follow-up conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. This was wonderful. And you're doing a great job too. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Paul. Paul's contact details will be displayed below this video and on our website. Thank you, Paul.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. If you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.